being so-called, these particles are, none of them are contagious or infectious or cause disease, but many of them are starting to really question this one, because they see that it's not actually doing what it's reported to do. So, there are some problems, but at the same time, the ridiculous nature of what's going on it is helping to get people to sort of think about it. But then, as we were saying before, that it ends up spreading a lot of confusing information, because some are saying, well, it's not as bad as that, but it still exists. And others are saying, well, no, this particular virus doesn't exist, but others do. Right. And so no wonder the public gets confused, because there's just a lot of misleading information. I'm not saying it's done deliberately, I've no idea, but I suspect maybe somewhere along the line there are people kind of confusing the issue, which is why it's so important to say, to get to the actual heart of it and say there is no evidence, never has been, that any of these so-called particles called viruses cause disease. And similarly, there is no evidence that any bacterium causes disease.
Right. And I was just going to add, and the other part is now they're touting all these different cures for the COVID symptoms. And again, that's another misleading thing, because the flu, which is what it is, it's just another form of the flu, which is a detox, is something your body needs to do. It's a good thing. It's because you've been living wrong and your body's full of toxins and debris that it needs to do this. And they're saying it's a deadly disease that needs to be stopped. Don't use this drug, use this cure, this natural cure. And it's like they still don't get the concept that the flu is not bad, it's not deadly. It can be deadly if it's mistreated, mismanaged, which is what a lot of the doctors do, because they stifle the body, they suppress the body's efforts, and then they add more toxins, and then they push people over the edge. But the flu itself is a good thing. If I get the flu, and I haven't got one in many, many, many years, I look at it, I welcome it and say, wow, I must have been living wrong. I've been under a lot of stress, poisoning my body, doing things I shouldn't do, eating things I shouldn't eat. And now it's my body saying, okay, it's time for a cleansing. And when it happens, the best thing to do is go to bed, stop eating, just drink fluids, rest. And within a few days, all of it's out of you and you feel like brand new again. But no, these people are looking at it as, oh, this is a bad thing. We need to stop it. But don't use the medical drugs. We'll use the herbs, or we'll use this or that. But again, they're missing the whole point of what it is and what the purpose of it is.
Yes. Going back to the 1918 flu, one of the papers that we discovered was that aspirin was being prescribed, but at particularly high doses, and that was certainly causing a lot of people who were ill. So again, aspirin was taken to suppress symptoms, which of course is the wrong thing, as you say. But that was one of the reasons, or one of the causes of some of the deaths. I mean, there were plenty of other causes, but certainly the overuse of a high dose. Well, it was the high dose because it was particularly toxic. I mean, aspirin is toxic, but it was particularly toxic. So yeah, there's some evidence for that as well. There is a paper on that.
I think it's a very important point that you made there, Bob, about colds and flu, which are just different severities of getting rid of toxins in the body. And of course, the reported symptoms of COVID are the same, because the coughing, the mucous membranes coming into action, the fevers. All of these are very common symptoms for the body being poisoned in some way. And as you say, not things to be suppressed, but that's what the medical establishment does. And it's very common at the moment with this COVID thing that people who ought to know better are touting the idea that this drug called hydroxychloroquine, have I got it right? Yes, I still remember the title. That, this is the answer. And, some doctors are saying this. That they've used this on COVID patients, and it's a really good thing, and they get better. So therefore they're demanding from their governments that it should be readily available so that we can save people's lives. Again, I mean, it's a very similar thing to what was happening in the 80s with HIV, and they came up with AZT or AZT as it would be known in America. And the homosexual community was demanding this drug. It's going to help us all, and keep us fit and well and stop us dying. And they were playing straight into the trap. I mean, the doses of AZT that was given in the early 80s killed everybody. You know, everyone died that took that high level of dosage. You know, and